Well, no, my only question, when does Ryan Kent get to start?
Next week.
uh,
Yeah, as I say, tomorrow,
tomorrow. Send him down to
as soon as
Tacoma?
possible.
What? No.
But
Have him play against Portland with the Defiant.
that'd be
Oh,
amazing.
that would be so funny. All right. Goodness, welcome back to Soundwaves from the Sea. The Sounders won a game? Question mark? No, I'm kidding. It feels like the Sounders this year have done this bit where they have this terrible injury happen to one of their players. Then they play well, and I feel a little bit better about them, given everything that's supposed to happen and is still happening this year. And then they repeat that cycle because Jordan Morris is out for 6 more weeks. Um, as Mike and I saw because he was in the press box for the St. Louis match. I was like, oh, that's Jordan Morris. Why is he in here? And I threatened Mike to show him all of his tweets about Jordan.
Bro, I swear he looked me dead in the eye and he was like, I know who you are. And I was so scared.
When they came in, I was like, oh God. And then when the anthem started playing, U.S. men's national team player Jordan Morris stood up and was like this, and I was like, oh, fuck. I guess I gotta stand up. Um, no, I mean, St. Louis came into town, what, pretty pretty battered to an extent, I'd say, right? I mean, they're not the St. Louis they have been, and we all know that. Um, I just don't think anyone expected Seattle to put up 4 goals in this one because what Mike said before we started was that St. Louis had only conceded what 8 goals going into this match, if I'm correct. You
Yeah,
know,
third best
Something like
in the
that.
league.
so I was kind of surprised to hear that because I'm like, wow, look at the way that Seattle was able to score what 3 goals in the span of 30 minutes in the second half to really pull away in this one. It was also a little bit bizarre officiating wise. I'm not gonna spend 20 minutes talking about the officials, right? But the two pens in the first half, 4 minutes away from each other, to equalize, and the clear handball. I don't understand and it's not like the pro officials explanation of it was any better to like clear things up. It was kind of just bad. um oh yeah, and then St. Louis's coach had this long quote about mentality after their loss, so it was both
Are we
teams
going to talk
obviously.
about championship mentality?
God.
I mean, I don't think St. Louis has any of that. um
I will tell you though. Can you tell me what one thing these four players, Freddie Montero, Obafemi Martins, Jordan Morris, and Danny Musovski share?
oh my god.
They all start with an M.
I mean, the other thing. The other thing is that Danny Musovski has scored in four straight games, and it's his starting spot to lose. Like,
The
I
moose
I
is
don't think anybody
loose.
expected that. Like
No.
No.
like out of the forest, bro, out of the cage. Like
Out of a cage? Who's putting a moose in a cage? Um,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
no,
put him in
this goal. I
Seattle.
mean, well, Obed Vargas had that one where it was kind of, I mean, it felt like wasn't going to go in anyway, but then it got deflected by the St. Louis defender, uh,
It was
to
tough,
give
yeah.
them the lead in the 61st. Um, Mike and I had a bet in the press box that if before the match, that if Danny Musovski extended his goal streak to now 4 games, that I would need to get a moose like plush and bring it into the press box. And I'm like, well, technically I already have one of those. Um, and then he scored, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. He scored in the 81st minute. And then we got a Nuhu goal for Nuhu's second goal of his career. And that was just kind of the icing on the cake. And I think it was the loudest personally that the building got all night. It was a solid crowd. It was a solid crowd. I remarked again. I complained a lot to Mike throughout the course of the night. I said that, it looked bad right before we started, and then they filled in. So
Mhm.
I don't know.
I
It
think it
was a
Filled in
always
good
looked
night.
fast too.
bad.
Yeah. Um, it was a good night all in all, but it is kind of funny to see 29 total shots for Seattle, 7 of them on target. And like 4 of those came from Paul Rothrock in the first half, and none of them were on frame. Um, I guess how do you guys feel about this match? Because Owen says he's got strong feelings about the way that St. Louis played. I heard a little bit of it, from Mike since we were next to each other, at the match. So Owen, I want your complaints first about St. Louis and their back line, and then Mike, I want to hear from you.
I struggle with how good this St. Louis team has been defensively. Watching them play and seeing how flat and how square they were every single time the Sounders played a through ball. I mean, I'm happy because I think what's unique about this game is the Sounders had so much variety in attack. We've complained a lot about the fact that there's a lot of games where the Sounders will swing in 50 crosses or just kind of take pot shots, but there was real variety. I think some of that came from how much confidence Nuhu had. He had two or three really solid crosses from the left. You got Alex Roldan back like with a vengeance. Um, but there was a couple of Pedro de la Vega shots. There were some really strong cutbacks, some work into the box. I think that kind of caught St. Louis by surprise. But I'm looking at a lot of these through balls. I remember there was one from Christian Roldan. I don't even think it led to a goal, but he's running from probably 30, 40 yards deep. And he is in motion for a solid 10 seconds before St. Louis even turns their hips and he's behind the defense. It's great by Seattle to recognize that and really take advantage of it. But I was very surprised to see that from one of the better defensive teams in the league.
It's not what you'd expect, especially
No, absolutely not.
from St. Louis of all teams. For since they joined the league, they've been one of the most solid defensive teams. And also from the Sounders, like yes, I was complaining that 29 shots, only 8 on target. It looks bad on paper, but to concede that many shots in general is just
Absolutely.
blows my mind for any team.
Yeah, I mean, the Sounders took more shots in the second half, which from our perspective is good. I am happy that they put the foot kind of on the gas because I mean that's always been an issue is that you get up that second goal in the 61st minute and you shut it down, right? And I absolutely didn't see that. Part of that I think we can talk about Ryan Kent a little bit later, but how impactful he was off the bench especially and just looked really fluid and like he's been with this team for a minute.
Ryan Kent.
Yeah, you heard.
It seems
The
like
goat.
anytime he comes on the field. Yeah, no, I think that was one of my bigger takeaways, Owen, after this match was like, yes, this kind of blew up on St. Louis, but I was glad that, Seattle did keep their foot on the gas, did keep things moving, and added on. Like I always hate it across any sport when that doesn't happen. I'm like, I get it. You can defend the goal lead and, be happy with it, and we can get out of here with the points. Yes, but like to use the bit, it's like you need a little bit of that championship mentality to pull away and actually put teams away. Because I mean, to use you know, the other, but another club in the city that won over the weekend, um, like with what the Rain did against Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City's got all the attack in the world, but they've looked mortal over the last few weeks because teams have kept it within a goal and have just found a way. And the Rain found a way and took away 3 big points against again the second best team um in the league. Like, but also I didn't like that it was 1-0, and they didn't like that it was 1-0. Like it very much could have been split points at home. So obviously they're not direct comparisons of clubs. They're very different, but it is nice to see Seattle pull away like this. Um, and I don't know, just um for how the offense has gone, um, to see them fire away so many shots was so weird. Like I don't know where this ranks, but I'm very curious to see where it would be in terms of like all-time shots in a match from the Sounders. Like 29 feels very high. Um,
I feel like you don't
so
see our
Yeah,
offense clicking like that ever.
that's
Like
certainly
in the
no.
more than
past, since
Kansas City had.
like
Yeah,
I think so. I think maybe. Well, what was Kansas City? What, zero
Kansas City
shots
had
on
no
target
shot.
and
Kansas City
zero
had no
shots? Yeah,
shot, no shots at
My
all.
God.
Sorry, not to hijack your point.
Wait, I just want to like go off on that for a second. How
Please.
long does Greg Bainey have before LA Galaxy let him go? Yes, you win MLS Cup, but how can you let this team be so bad? I mean, I get it. MLS rules are stupid, but like you could. There's mostly these players are the same. You have Gabriel Peck. You have Joseph Paintsil. What? What are you doing?
I'm so curious. I haven't watched enough Galaxy this year. Sounders haven't played him yet, but yeah, I just something has to have changed, right?
Ricky Pooch.
They went in the shitter. Well, there you go. After, they knew they needed to win MLS Cup, but they saw how they, barely beat Seattle. They said, "Oh, it's over." Wait, when do these clubs play each other, actually? Um,
Has to
is
be
it
soon.
somewhat soon?
I can't. They
Um,
haven't. A lot of teams have played the Galaxy,
No.
and
not
it
until
hasn't been the
August
Sounders yet.
10th.
Wow.
Wow.
Dang.
I had a couple extra points that I want to talk about too. I mean, this new who performance, it's just, a goal and assist. But the thing that's been an issue is sometimes when he goes so far forward, he struggles defensively. But
Oh.
he led all players in duels won with eight. He won two tackles. He wasn't dribbled past six defensive actions, an interception, two headed clearances. I,
This is easily his best game in a Sounder shirt.
oh, absolutely. I just wanted to throw a little bit of appreciation just on how balanced his play was,
Yeah.
especially.
Uh, well, and it was interesting you say that because after the match, Brian like made it a point to say, yes, this is a great match from him, but this is how he should be playing like
Yeah,
consistently. And I'm like, yeah,
just
I
the
mean,
ceiling, 100%.
yeah. So
I
no,
still
I
feel
think
like
that is a
Nuhu
good point.
still plays defensively well every single game, but going forward, this is his
Yeah,
best performance for
absolutely.
sure as well.
And
How
that
are
ties a
we?
little. Oh, please.
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just saying that ties a little bit into the formation I want to talk about a little bit because
Hmm.
on paper I think it was back in a 4-2-3-1, but it looked pretty similar. And so I mean, it's just gonna go back to my point that it doesn't really matter if it's a 4-3-4-3 or a 4-2-3-1.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I
but
kind of
that
want to
balance
fight you on
between
that
him,
though.
please. No, I'd love to talk about it.
So, so I don't know. We've kind of talked about this before. Right? Our defensive shape has even
Yeah,
like what they've been lining up as 3-4-3. They've been defending in that as well, or even with the five back. I feel like this game is specifically they were defending with that four and the two in front of them,
for that.
and
Okay,
they felt a lot more structured. And I
okay,
think I think this game felt a little different for me because we saw Nuhu moving up and down the pitch more,
yeah,
but I feel like we had such more defensive stability
okay.
in that defensive shape that as opposed to lining up as a 3-4-3.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of what I want to get at with it because I feel like a lot of the time when we see kind of this system that the Sounders have been in for a while, it's they really throw all of the attention towards one fullback kind of attacking it. And this was I saw both fullbacks up and in the box at points.
Mm.
Not at the same time, but there it was different than a lot of things I've seen. And I was curious what you guys kind of thought about that and what that meant for the defensive structure, the pressing structure. We've talked a lot about it. And y'all were there seeing the whole field, so you saw a little bit more than I did.
I don't know about
Hmm.
Charles, but I feel like the buildup in possession felt more controlled when we are
I agree
lining
with
up like
that.
this. Like I feel like we were building up with six players all at once as opposed to five. We're lining up in that
Mm.
3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
This match felt like a shift. And Brian kind of mentioned this in the post match presser, but I think we'll be seeing more of this going forward. And if we can build with that, we could probably be one of the best teams in the league again. If we
Hmm.
can stick with that. If we start reverting back to that 3-4-3, once Jordan Morris is back, once Reagan is back, which I think he has gonna have to fight for a spot because Tim Keehee has been amazing
That's
in
what I
the
Yeah.
past
want.
couple
Like
games that he's been in.
he and I think Brian even said this is I'm sorry to hijack your point also,
No, go.
but like when Owen was talking about Nuhu, I'm like, hey man, like Kim, I'm thinking about this looking at the back line here. Like Kim Key has been very quietly solid. He doesn't need to do anything crazy, but like well that what that's commonly said right about a defender. You don't want to hear their name,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm sitting there watching him. Like there were a few times where he had to, help build from the back. Doesn't look rushed, doesn't look panicked. And I get it. He's like 800 years old. Like, sure, he should look like that. But it just makes you wonder, and especially with another guy who was in the press box, Jackson Reagan, sitting there like, hey, buddy, you've got to earn your spot back. Like that, or how, because to Owen's point, like with how they played here, I'm not messing with shit until it looks bad, right? Like so, but Brian did mention like maybe giving Yamar a rest and bringing Jackson back. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like with how you looked, because if I remember correctly, St. Louis didn't have much of besides the pen, obviously. They didn't
No,
have
absolutely
much
not. No.
going for them,
No.
right? So
1.06 total, 0.15 in the second half. Like, yeah, they
point
shut him
one
down.
five. Jesus. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, and it's funny to do all of this and you know, you're missing Jordan. Obviously, Paul's out for the year. Like, hey, okay. Um, obviously I don't trust Footmob for everything, but Jesus should only be out for this match, right? Like from what I saw, I don't think he'll be out long term. I don't know.
What was the
This
injury?
club, I don't. That was a drop. There's,
I can't.
Abductor. I know.
yeah,
Nico Moreno was reporting on it.
Okay.
I think he was just
Shout
feeling
out.
something weird, but
yeah. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping that it's nothing. But my point being is like this is where I get stuck with the Sounders is they'll do something like this, right? And who knows? Maybe it'll turn into some run for them. But like I just get so much excitement and hope for them because you see what they can do. You see how they can play. You talk about Nuhu's play. You talk about the way that I would heavily agree that, the way that their build-up looked. It didn't feel like some matches where I'm like, okay, there's two guys on two wings trying to do things, and that's kind of it. Which always like makes me want to bang my head on the table, which probably shouldn't do. It might scare everybody away around me. Um, yeah, it like this was a really satisfying performance, and so to do so in front of your home building, in the month or what, a month and a half before you welcome some of the biggest clubs in the world here, it's good. Like this is exciting. But I just
Yeah. Because
wonder,
the last thing I want to talk about just a little bit is like what you guys think makes Danny Musovski and Jordan Morris different. Like why does one work and the other one, sometimes doesn't. I know Michael's a little bit jaded on this, but
no.
like just
What
what
my
I
Let me take off my Jordan Morris hating glasses really
oh my
quick.
God.
please.
So I think both are great strikers. Jordan Morris is a Sounders legend. He is you in any other stance, he will be the starting striker, right? Um, I think it's going to depend on script to be honest. Like Jordan Morris is more of a running behind, stretch the defense, make open up space for the wingers and for Albert. While Danny, he's going to be more of like that hold up striker, which I think suits our wingers right now with Pedro de la Vega and hopefully Ryan Kent, which we'll get to later. I think Ryan that front three of like a Ryan Kent, Pedro de la Vega, and Danny Musovski works better as opposed to having Jordan Morris there with with those other
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
But I
Is he a
think
better player? Who knows?
no,
Who's to
absolutely not.
say?
He's not a better player, but right now he is making a case to make the Gold Cup this summer. Like, but I think they're both great strikers, and it's good to have Danny going into form. I think if Jordan can change his game to match what Danny is providing the Sounders, will be damn near unstoppable. Dare I say?
Wow. High praise.
And I think Jordan Morris can do it. He's a big boy. He's strong. We've seen him hold the ball before. That's not his style of game. He's more of a get in behind, make runs for a through ball type. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Hey
is a
man,
good point. I mean, I feel like in the past the Sounders have wanted to have this conversation. Like we need you to be a big boy. We need you to be up front. Really what he's done, right?
you just
So
got to go hang out with Will Brown for a little bit, man. Learn
where's
his
the bear at?
ways.
Where
or Nelson Valdez.
God, Jesus Christ. Hey,
Bring them all back.
maybe he needs to learn something from a guy on his team. Hey, Danny, I need some help.
See, that's the lineup I want to see Tuesday night. I want to see a front two of Will Maroon and Nelson Valdez with Ryan Kent on the wing.
Oh
Oh
my
my god.
god.
Portland will not know what's coming, man.
Can you just put Portland in the torture chamber? They're coming up to Starfire to play at this field. And then there's gonna be a bunch of Sounders fans there, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And they see these guys lining up against them. Create another red card wedding. Goodness. So, I guess. Do you want to talk about Ryan Kent before I look at Houston? Because what do you do here? Like it is. I don't know if it's like. I think Mike said this first, but then I kept using the bit afterwards when Ryan Kent got on the field in the second half. It was like he's aura farming. Like he just every time he touched the ball, it was like something cool, or the crowd would get really excited. And it kind of felt like after they got the 2 goal lead, it slowed down a little bit, and then knew who scored, and everybody went insane. Um, I what do you do with Ryan Kent? Because like he played what 30 minutes, I think, in this. No, I can look for
Like
sure.
33.
Okay, so yeah, so ballpark, right? But like you see how he played. I kind of want, but it's juggling how you've looked and keeping the consistency, right? And but also wanting to get this guy involved. So what do you do next week with Ryan Kent in Houston? Like, right? Because I mean, if Danny Musovski continues to score goals, do you mess with a guy who's continuing to produce? If I'm a coach, which I'm not, I don't mess with that. I don't mess with production, right? But otherwise, what do you mess with? Like, Paul didn't have a bad first half. I mean, again, the shots went into the crowd and probably hit several children, but like,
But he
um,
also got the foul that created the penalty.
yes, that's right. That's right. As soon as I saw him run towards the box, I'm like, that motherfucker's going down. Um, yeah, what do you do? What do you do against Houston? Like, are you happy to run it back like this? And if you need to make the change in about the 57th where they did last week, a few days ago, are you doing that? Like, I'm open. I'm interested to hear this because if you're looking purely at it like this, Houston is lower in the Western Con. Oh, Jesus Christ. They're just yeah, sorry. I didn't realize how bad things truly were with LA Galaxy. Um Owen. Um, they're the Dynamo are 14th in the West right now. Um,
I want to
so
hear
I
Owen's opinion on this, like on the Ryan Kent situation first, before I
yeah.
pop off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, I think that I am where Charles is because I think that you have a strong lineup. I think the thing you have to be most concerned about with a guy you're bringing into the team is chemistry and fitness. Um, the chemistry I think is there well enough. That's what we saw on Saturday. That was really strong. The fitness is something I'd be a little bit worried about, especially as they go kind of on the road. I think you have in your hands what Georgie Manungu was last season. You have a spark plug, which it not necessarily in the same way that Georgie plays, but you have somebody that you can bring off the bench, and he has kind of game changing ability, which I think is a perfect role for him to play right now. Um, I would stick with Rothrock for the moment, at least to start here, because he's a workhorse. You know he's going to stick in there, and you kind of know what you're getting, especially against a team like Houston. Um, Ryan Kent is a fantastic option for me to have off the bench if you're really struggling to create down there in Houston if they're locking it down. But please, Michael, hit me.
I think, like you mentioned, this chemistry. Team chemistry is the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Nuhu and Rothrock, even after playing together on the left hand side for plenty of
Mm.
games past couple seasons, I feel like the chemistry still isn't fully there at times. Like I feel like neither will track each other's run as well. But the moment Brian Kent came on Saturday, the team shifted. Like everybody's mentality changed completely, including Nuhu's, and him and Ryan Kent's chemistry was. And I mentioned this on on X and on Blue Sky that their chemistry felt incredible. Like I haven't seen that left hand side play that well together like that. Honestly, since I started covering the Sounders back in 2021. Like I just feel like Ryan Kent brings a certain dynamism, and Rothrock has been great, but I don't think he is going to be should be a starter on this team. I think he should we should flip what Owen said, make him like the Georgie, a sub off the bench because Rothrock can play on either the right or the left, and I think he can close out games. That's what
I'm
I
curious.
think. I
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just curious. I don't think he's like a spark plug in the same way, though. I don't think he's coming on. I don't think you bring Paul Rothrock on and say, go really give this guy a run in the way that a guy like Georgie or Kent does. I think if you bring him on and you're 1-0 up or 2-1 up, that's where I'd love to have him. I just don't think he's the kind of guy that really puts a tired fullback to work.
Hmm.
I think he's the guy that tires him out.
You can see both sides to this. I mean, I just you're and this is Brian's job at the end of the day, right? Is to maximize the roster that you have, at your disposal. And so yeah, is it, hey, I like what because Kent's faster than Paul, right? Um,
yeah.
yeah. Mm. At the end of the day, I think, and I don't know if I don't really like to do it normally, but um, you guys are free to weigh in on this, of course. Obviously, that's why we're here. You need a result in Houston. Come on. You know, um, how you go about that though will be fascinating. Um, I will say they haven't been bad in recent form, but you need a result against Houston. I mean, how much of a kick in the balls would it be to play the way you did in this match? Not just, pulling away with the 3 goals in the last 30 minutes, but to play the way that you did and then give up a stinker in Houston, right? Like knock on wood, you haven't lost to Houston since 2021. Um, which I did not know. I was going back in head to head and I was like, wow, you really have dominated head to head against the Dynamo in recent memory. Um, I don't know. Is there any thought on that? Because like, what I'm trying to say is that either way, you should have an optimal situation, whether you start him or don't. I would feel good about the lineup either way, but I think you like not to guarantee a win, but you should absolutely handle business this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
delicate spot. No,
yeah,
please, sorry. I'm just gonna say it's a delicate spot where the game is.
it's true. We're what 11 games in the season now,
Mhm.
That you're
and
about to go on a 3 games in a week stretch that includes LAFC and Portland. Got to win this one.
mm, it's a
You
must
know,
win. And do you think Paul or Ryan Kent gets us there?
well,
My question
and
is,
that's
who do you trust in a must-win game? The guy who's started a full season, has the coach's trust, or guy who's played
brand new.
40 minutes in a game? Tough. I feel like this is going to be one of
Yeah.
those like these very MLS games, and you want the MLS guy in there, in my opinion.
So, well, and then how much, and obviously it depends on fitness and health, right? But how much does that lineup change, as you mentioned, with what? I mean, this is 3 games in a 7-day span, if I'm reading this properly, which reading difficult. Um,
Now
because
take you
yeah,
to
what?
Washington, right?
Yeah, God forbid, you know, school in the country, whatever. Houston May 10th, LAFC on the 14th, and Portland on the 17th. That is not fun. The clubs are like you could be playing, Portland U18, and that's still a lot of um. So I don't know. Yeah, how much does that change? Well, because even Portland, are you starting Ryan Kent against Portland, or are you going to play a guy like Paul who knows what that take, right? Like, oh, guys, we're gonna have an interesting week ahead. That's for sure. Oh, well, that's all next week. Never mind. So we'll have Houston to talk
Still, it's a
about.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the point. I don't know. I mean, this is the whole like what makes this doing this show so fun is like we get to look at stretches like this and it's like, all right, what the hell is Brian gonna do? I also, speaking of Ryan Kent, I guess one of my last things, before I do like a last call. Um, was listening to Ryan's availability afterwards back. Was how much he credited Andy Rose for bringing him here.
Hmm.
He was like, talking about it and kind of talking about his time here so far. He was like, yeah, like Andy Rose is a big help, and there's more quotes in there. I don't know. I didn't think that when they brought Andy Rose back that he'd have an impact like this. Hey, you never know. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Kind of funny to see how the club works in different regards. So, um, yes. Anything that tickles your fancy? Anything that you've been burning to talk about? Because I know Owen, like before the match, was like, "Hey, we got to do the show. Like, I need you to figure this out." Um, it's been a
I had
crazy
a
last
long
week.
week, and this was one of my highlights, dude. I was excited to come sit with you guys.
So, is there anything that we didn't touch on, not including high school quarterback commitments, that you'd want to touch on? Before, yeah, we've got this Houston match, LAFC, Portland, and then they have like a decent yeah, they kind of get more normal after that. I mean, they play Dallas and then San Diego 4 days apart. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. I kept looking down at the schedule. Anything last call before we get out of here?
It's just a little bit of Stephen Fry appreciation. He didn't have
Yeah.
much to do in that game, but been a strong. I doubted him at the start of the season. I said the Sounders were going to concede more than they scored,
Oh, that's
or
right.
whatever
Yeah.
my prediction was. I don't know where we're standing on that, but he's been, hasn't looked a day over 21. Um, and just outstanding. He was it this game he hit 400 appearance. So just outstanding player, one of the club's very very best in my opinion.
How do we replace him? Like, do you think Andy T is the next Mr. Sounders keeper?
I do. I believe in that, but it is
I
what it
would.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because again, they signed him last year to that like 2 year extension that I kind of forgot and got buried. So like, um,
Yeah, it's just
God damn it, Owen.
it's something you don't even like have to worry about, and that's a blessing for a team that has had other stuff to worry about.
What was very interesting that was pointed out by Brian post match, and I think Mike heard this too, was that when Stephen Fry debuted, oh, fuck, I forgot the kid's name. I should know his name. De Rosario, who was up for the Tacoma Defiance match. His father was playing in Toronto. And so now Stephen Fry has been playing so long that his child debuted and he's still playing. Like that is so funny to me. It is. I think. Oh, that was another thing too. And like, yeah, he's been solid. I remember I had a buddy during the 22 season of all seasons that said that he thinks Stephen Fry is not moving quite like he used to anymore, and he's still playing now. Um, but I also joked with Mike. I was like, "Hey man, I see Jacob Castro and Andrew Thomas out here. I don't see Stephen Fry. Where is Unk at? Where is he at?" Um, yeah, and it takes a little bit more for him to get ready pregame. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, I
Which
went
is
into my
that's also a shout out to Tommy Dutra. So
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
God, I mean that's another thing. It's always interesting to see like the inner workings of an organization and who makes things go. Really, besides the players. I mean, tell me, dude, like shit, man. Can you imagine not having? Yes. Sorry. Before I went off on my De Rosario rant, I'm sure Mike had something.
I know I've been joking. I was joking a lot on Saturday with Charles that Musovski is the most in-form American striker in the world, along with Brian White. But he is making if he keeps scoring it's like a goal a game, what's stopping him from, I don't know, making the Gold Cup roster or hell, even the World Cup roster next year? Like I know it's a joke. It's not feasible. This should not happen. But I mean, like, if you have a striker who's scoring, well, why the hell not? You know?
the only thing I struggle with is I think we talk a lot about like system players in football, but he could be like a system guy. Like
Yeah.
he plays very well with the players around him, and they elevate him to another level. Would that happen with the U.S. men's national team, where he doesn't have that experience unless they just do call up Christian Roldan and Paul Rothrock and Ryan Kent gets his American citizenship? Um, I think
Ollie
he
prime
might
time.
he might be a system guy, which isn't that bad. Like not a bad thing. It's working great for the Sounders. I think that's why ultimately he wouldn't make this team.
That's right.
Better system guy than Jimmy Garoppolo.
It could be the same guy. Have you ever seen him in the
More
same room?
likable. Danny Musovski, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have a cool like animal nickname I'll just say that. All right. It's always fun when you get to do win shows, right? Like there's no sulking here. I think the only sulking is deciding on what the hell the lineup should be next match. Um, all I can think of now is the meme video that the Sounders social team created for Nuhu's goal and hearing that blast in the press box
Oh
after
my
the
God.
match. I'm like, what is that noise? All right, folks. Yeah, it's great. It's great to do this. Obviously, I will say it. Like Owen really wanted to get this. Well, both of these guys did. Like, it's obviously been a busy last week in the city. There was things that I've leaked that became official, so I had to do that. Um, God, we had a game every day over the weekend, so we're really getting into the thick of it. I mean, and it's nice out. It's continuously nice out. So these match days in Seattle, I think we've got a match at the end of May that's like a noon match against Dallas. What day is this on? The 24th? Yeah, Saturday at noon, Lumen Field. Like, should be a nice day. Look at this.
Should be a nice day.
Oh goodness. All right. So yeah, it'll be great. One of these days when we get all three of us back in the box, you gotta take a picture with our Danny
Oh,
Musovski plush because Danny Musovski will still be scoring goals. All right.
Goal a game.
If he's if he gets on a goal a game pace, I don't know what I'll do. I'll have to figure out something.
PSG is not going to know what happened on that.
Paris Saint-Germain, meet the Moose. Botafogo, don't care. Danny Musovski's here. Oh God. All right.
There's your title.
What? What is it?
Botafogo, don't care. Danny Musovski's here.
Okay. Okay, fine. That is what I will name it. Oh God. Until we see you next week, folks. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Don't commit to Oregon, like high school quarterbacks, apparently. And do whatever
It's
you
nice
can to
here.
make today a great. It looks nice over there. I mean, the sun's out in my window, so.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. So where are you going to watch all of the Sounder away games this year?
Away games for the Sounders. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that's a great idea. Go Sounders. Hope we see y'all here.